averted. Man corrupted his world and filled it with violence. So we must be destroyed.
A great flood is coming. We build a vessel to hold the innocent.
Mama! What's them?
What do you want?
Did you really think you could protect yourself from me in that?
It's not protection.
Lucas here again for another movie review. Today we have the long-awaited Bible epic Noah, starring Russell Crowe and directed by Darren Arronofsky, who has directed such films as Requiem for a Dream, The Wrestler, and Black Swan. Noah is based on the classic biblical story Noah's Ark, this taking a much darker approach to what I remember the story being. And this was a movie that had a lot of controversy around it because the studio had their version that they didn't want to show Darren Aronofsky's cut, and so they showed the other cut to a couple of test audiences, and they didn't like it because they thought that the movie deviated too much from the biblical story, too much. So, needless to say, there was a lot of controversy and a lot of build-up awaiting this movie. While Noah is definitely not Darren Aronofsky's best film, I think it is by far his most ambitious, and I do think that Darren Arronofsky does achieve most of the ambitions that he strives for here. Start off with the acting. The performances are strong all around. Russell Crowe takes what could be just a typical bland Russell Crowe character that we've kind of seen before in something like Robin Hood, and actually gives he makes Noah really interesting with just how devoted he is to carrying God's word in this. Of course, I'm sure you know the story, but for those that haven't, Noah basically gets a signal from God saying that the world's going to end, and he has to build this ark because the whole world's going to flood, has to carry all these animals on it, and it gets a little bit darker from there. Russell Crowe as Noah is really interesting to watch because you have to see this guy struggling between what he thinks is right and wrong, and then also doing what he thinks he has to in order to please the creator. And I thought that he made Noah a really interesting character, someone with like the biggest moral dilemma ever. And I thought he brought a lot to the character. I thought Jennifer Connelly as his wife was really good, really strong. I also thought Emma Watson, who may seem a little bit young for the role, eventually pulled it off. There's only one performance and character that I didn't really like in this movie all that much, but I'm going to get to that later. But I also thought that Ray Winstone was a pretty good and convincing villain. One thing that Aronofsky does beautifully here is this world building. You fully feel like you are transported back to this time period, this era, and this world where there's many different mythical things. They have, like, for one instance, I don't remember this at all, but I'm sure this was just made for this movie, but they have these things called the Watchers, which are these big, like, rock creatures that walk. And at first they were kind of jarring because you're like, what? But they are so awesome, and it kind of reminded me of, like, the Rockbiter from Neverending Story, but imagine like 30 of them and them kicking ass. It was really cool and really beautiful to watch. Not only is this world believable, but it's beautifully shot. Aronofsky creates a lot of beautiful things in here visually through a lot of speed ups, and he does a lot of time lapses that I thought were really great. And even in these the visions that Noah has that are really violent and kind of shocking, they're still done in a beautifully artistic way, kind of like in Requiem for a Dream, but just not as depressing. The action scenes in this movie were pretty jaw-dropping. There's a whole scene involving this huge raid of these people led by Ray Winstone trying to take the Ark that I thought was really incredible. And combine that with all the pouring rain, and the sound design was really intense. What I think I liked most about this movie, because I'm an atheist and I enjoyed this movie perfectly fine for the themes, and I think it's a challenging movie. I think it makes you think. So whether or not you believe in this thing or not, if you're religious or you're a non-religious person, I think that you can enjoy this movie either way because of the themes and the discussion that it probably prompts after and while you're watching the movie. And unless you're just someone that is a religious purist and doesn't think that anything should be taken out of context and nothing should be changed, then I don't even know why you're going to see this movie, but I think that most religious and non-religious can enjoy this movie for that. And with a movie this ambitious, obviously there's going to be a few flaws. One, I feel like the third act of this movie kind of falls off, and I feel like in the beginning of the movie it's a little bit slow trying to develop the world and the characters. So it does have a little bit of a slow build-up. Once we're introduced to the Watchers, that's when I thought it kind of picked up. And then in the third act, because I was really into the first and second acts, especially the intense middle act, I felt like the third act of the film takes mainly on the arc. And they try to do a lot of stuff with that, involving a whole birth sequence and a whole issue involving that. And while I was interested in that, it seemed like they were trying to juggle so many things at once that it kind of becomes overwhelming and a little bit uninteresting. The performance that I didn't like in here was Logan Lerman and his character. One, I thought he was kind of miscast because he just seemed too young for the role, and he just didn't look like he would be in this time period. He was just too pretty. And there's also a little bit of a side story with him involving Noah and this girl that was completely underdeveloped, and his story kind of takes hold in the third act, and it was something that I thought was just too underdone to really care about. And the film is like 2 hours and 20 minutes, and the film does have some pacing problems, like I said, in the beginning and stuff. So I never was bored, but there was times where it was definitely slow. That being said, though, I think that Aronofsky accomplishes and succeeds at what he's trying to do here. The film is trying to do a lot, so obviously it doesn't succeed on all the ambitions that it does, but you gotta give the guy props for trying and ultimately getting the cut of the film that he wanted. And I thought that Noah was an interesting and very challenging experience. It's rare to see a film of this magnitude and this scale with also such interesting concepts while you're watching the movie. So I enjoyed Noah. I think that if you're a fan of these kind of big religious epics, you'll enjoy it. And I think that if you're religious or non-religious, you can get something out of this. So I'm going to give Noah a very, very strong 3.5 stars out of 5. That's my review of Noah. Let me know what you thought of the film. If you liked it or didn't like it, was it because of any personal religious reasons? Let me know if you thought the film succeeded. And what is your favorite Darren Arronofsky film? So if you like this review, please subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys later.
It begins.